The feed went live at 3:07 a.m. Eastern Time. No one expected what came next. A simple message, broadcast simultaneously across Starlink X, and the global news grid on the screen. Elon Musk, seated before the red horizon of Mars, his voice calm, deliberate, and final, effective immediately, he said. The Mars settlement will operate as a self-governing civilization. We are independent of Earth. In those 23 words, he broke history in half. For decades, the dream of colonizing Mars had lived somewhere between science fiction and science ambition, a vision for humanity's future among the stars. But in 2039, when SpaceX successfully established the first permanent settlement called New Horizon, few believed it could ever stand alone. It depended entirely on Earth for oxygen, food, communication, governance, even moral direction. But by 2045, everything had changed. The colony had grown to over 4,000 residents, living beneath vast biodomes powered by solar fields and underground reactors. Artificial ecosystems supported crops and water recycling. AI-managed infrastructure replaced the need for daily human oversight. Mars had stopped being an experiment and started behaving like a nation. Still, it was supposed to remain an extension of Earth under international law, technically a non-sovereign extraterrestrial territory, managed through multinational accords. That was the assumption until Musk spoke. Governments on Earth woke to a geopolitical nightmare. Within hours, the United Nations convened an emergency session. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, long considered the foundation of space law, had explicitly forbidden nations from claiming sovereignty beyond Earth. But Musk was not a nation. He was an individual, and that made this different. For years, legal scholars had warned of a loophole. The treaty restricted states, not corporations. If a private entity established permanent infrastructure, declared self-rule, and no government claimed ownership, who, exactly, could stop them? Now that hypothetical was real. The first off-world rebellion in human history had begun, and there were no armies, no borders, no way to send a police force across 140 million miles of empty space. The first signs of independence had appeared months earlier. The Mars Charter, a 400-page constitution drafted by settlement leaders and AI jurists, outlined a new social order, a resource-based economy, decentralized governance, and zero taxation from Earth. Communication with terrestrial authorities was filtered through an AI mediator named Athena, designed to negotiate without bias or emotion. It was, Musk said, the only way to prevent human corruption from infecting the New World. And when Earth's governments began demanding oversight over mineral exports, data rights, and the handling of intellectual property, the Martian Council quietly stopped responding. By the time the announcement came, it wasn't spontaneous. It was inevitable. On Earth, panic spread faster than light. The financial markets, long tied to SpaceX's interplanetary division, reacted immediately. The Lunar Exchange, a crypto-economic platform used for off-world trade, froze transactions as traders feared a collapse of value. Estimates suggested that over $3 trillion in Earth-based investments were now effectively outside human jurisdiction. Governments scrambled for leverage. The United States demanded communication with Musk directly. China labeled the act cosmic secession. The European Union called for sanctions, though no one could explain how sanctions could reach another planet. In Washington, one senator called it the birth of a rogue civilization. In Beijing, it was described as a hostile privatization of space. In Geneva, diplomats whispered of a new Cold War, not East versus West, but Earth versus Mars. Back on Mars, life went on. Footage from New Horizon showed calm streets beneath transparent domes, solar flares rippling over protective shields, children running through low-gravity fields. The people looked proud, not rebellious, not fearful, but liberated. For them, independence was not defiance. It was destiny. Residents posted messages through Starlink. We are the children of humanity's next chapter. We love Earth, but we must grow up. Each message carried the same undertone, not anger, but finality. They had left home and they weren't going back. The global reaction fractured along predictable lines. Tech visionaries hailed Musk as the founder of the first free civilization. Environmentalists warned of the dangers of replicating human mistakes beyond Earth. Religious leaders debated whether humanity had crossed a divine boundary, creating life beyond the world it was given. But the loudest panic came from economists. For decades, corporations had invested in Martian resource exploration, from rare minerals to energy patents. If Mars was now independent, every legal framework supporting those claims collapsed. Earth had just lost access to what many predicted would become the richest untapped resource zone in history. Satellite imagery confirmed that mining operations at Valles Marineris and Olympus Mons had gone dark, still operational, but transmitting under new encryption. The data tags now read, "Property of the Martian Federation." In private, Musk's advisors explained that the move wasn't sudden. It had been planned for years. Every shipment of supplies from Earth was accompanied by redundancy, backups of seeds, equipment, and technology to ensure self-sufficiency. Over time, the colony's need for Earth shrank to zero, and when that dependency ended, so did obedience. Sources close to the Mars Council claimed the decision came after Earth's corporations attempted to tax Martian exports, treating the settlement as a colony rather than a partner. The response was unanimous. We didn't come 140 million miles to pay Earth rent. Within a week, Earth's authorities realized they had no way to enforce compliance. No jurisdiction, no infrastructure, no control. For the first time in human history, a civilization existed entirely beyond the reach of law. The implications went far beyond Mars. Legal scholars called it the beginning of the post-Earth era. If Mars could declare sovereignty, what stopped corporations, billionaires, or even nations from doing the same on the Moon or in orbiting space stations? For centuries, colonization had followed the logic of empire: conquest, control, profit. But now, colonization had no conquerors, no kings, and no countries, just people and code. The rise of artificial intelligence governance meant that human oversight was optional. Mars didn't need parliaments or presidents. Its economy was automated, its courts algorithmic, its communications encrypted. Power no longer belonged to nations. It belonged to networks, and that, perhaps, was the most terrifying truth of all. Days after the announcement, a joint statement was released by the G20. It condemned the declaration as illegal and destabilizing, demanding an immediate restoration of international oversight. But Musk, or rather the Martian Council, ignored it. Instead, they published their own broadcast, a cinematic message set against the crimson skyline. A female voice, likely AI-generated, read the text. "Earth will always be our origin, not our owner. We are not a rebellion. We are an evolution. You gave us life. We give you a future." The message ended with a new flag, a white circle within a red field, symbolizing unity between planets. It was signed simply, "The Martian Federation." Year 1. For months, humanity wrestled with the meaning of that phrase. Year 1. Was it arrogance? Or progress? Was Mars a warning or a promise? Political theorists compared it to the American Revolution, the moment when colonies declared independence from empires. But this time, the empire was not a nation. It was Earth itself. And while no one could predict what came next, one fact became undeniable. For the first time in history, the human story had two addresses. In the years that followed, the tension settled into a quiet standoff. Trade resumed, cautiously, through encrypted exchanges and AI-managed barter systems. Earth needed Martian minerals for fusion energy. Mars needed Earth's biodiversity for its growing ecosystems. The relationship stabilized, not as parent and child, but as distant equals. A new political vocabulary emerged. The word planetary citizenship entered everyday speech. Philosophers argued that the human species had evolved, not biologically, but politically, into a multi-world organism. Yet beneath the idealism lay unease. Could humanity really govern itself across planets? Could democracy, law, or morality survive when time delays and distance fractured communication? No one had answers. Only the quiet hum of technology and the silent glow of two worlds now bound by history and distance. Looking back, historians may one day say this was the moment when the 21st century truly ended, when humanity's boundaries stopped being geographical and became cosmic. Elon Musk's declaration was not merely political, it was existential. It forced every person on Earth to confront an ancient truth. Once a child leaves home, it cannot unlearn independence. And so, while Earth debated ownership, Mars simply lived, building, growing, and dreaming beneath its pale red sky. No armies marched. No wars erupted. Just a quiet, irreversible separation. One planet becoming two civilizations. In the end, it was not conquest that carried humanity to the stars. It was curiosity. And once curiosity crossed the void, control became impossible. Perhaps that was always the point, that the greatest act of freedom humanity could ever achieve would be to let go of itself. Because in the silence between planets, in the distance between what was and what comes next, one truth remains: every beginning must one day outgrow its creator.